You ever scroll through your bank transactions and realize your entire adult life looks like one long apology in dollar signs? Because that's what it felt like, looking back. Every Venmo, every transfer, every "Can you cover this?" was me buying a little slice of temporary peace from a family that saw me less like a person and more like a walking, talking emergency fund. Growing up, it was always, family means everything. Until you realize that in my family, everything meant me. I'm Mason. 32. Quiet, maybe too quiet. Lived most of my adult life walking the tightrope between being invisible and being indispensable. Which, if you've ever done it, you know, it's a job with no paycheck. But plenty of receipts. The star of the family? That'd be my sister, Tessa. She wasn't just the golden child, she was the entire gold mine. Straight teeth, straight A's, straight into everyone's good graces. She could post a picture holding a random avocado and Aunt Marie would comment, "You're glowing, angel! Leaf fluttering in wind, green heart sparkles." Me? I posted about getting my first trade license, and the family group chat was dead silent except for Uncle Ron sending a thumbs up. Not even the good one, the Android emoji. Disrespectful. Tessa had dreams of being a lifestyle influencer. Wellness with Tessa. That was her brand. Lotta beige. Lotta lavender. Zero revenue. But she had followers, and in our family, that apparently counted more than bills paid on time. Now here's where it got fun. When Tessa moved out at 19, she immediately realized that living costs actual money. Wild concept, I know. She called me crying because her card got declined at Trader Joe's. 2 bags of kale in debt. And of course, I helped. I was 23 then, working a warehouse job and living paycheck to paycheck. But I wired her $200 without blinking. She said she'd Venmo it back tomorrow. Tomorrow's been 8 years. That was the first time. But not the last. Over the years, it became routine. Tessa needed help covering rent? I paid. Tessa's phone bill? Me. That time she wanted to surprise Mom for her birthday but ran out of gas. Halfway to the party? Uber, paid by me. And when she dropped her phone in the toilet at Coachella, somehow I was the emergency contact and the emergency bank. Every time I asked for payback, it was the same response. Ugh, you're so obsessed with money. No. I was obsessed with not being broke. And every time I tried to set boundaries, I'd get guilt-tripped like I had personally canceled Christmas. It's just a little help, she'd say. You know I'd do the same for you. Spoiler, she wouldn't. She couldn't even do it for herself. The thing is, I wasn't a saint. I didn't like being the fallback guy. But I kept telling myself, one day I'll get mine. One day, they'll see me as more than just the reliable one with a working debit card. So I stopped complaining. Started planning. While Tessa was staging her 4th attempt at an Etsy store selling intention bracelets, I was saving every extra dollar. Teaching myself code at night. Watching YouTube tutorials on logistics and small business funding like they were Netflix thrillers. I knew I didn't want to work for someone else forever. I wanted my own thing. I didn't have generational wealth. I had spreadsheets. I didn't have connections. I had coffee and a cracked laptop with no e-key. Still, by 30, I'd built a small but promising fulfillment side hustle out of my garage, handling inventory for small creators and eBay stores. And after 3 years of non-stop grinding, I applied for a business loan to expand it. Real warehouse. Real team. Real future. Then, one morning in March, I opened my email. Approved. $87,000. At 7.5% interest. It was happening. It was finally happening. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there at my tiny folding table and whispered to no one. Told you. And then I did something stupid. I texted the family group chat. Just a simple message. Mason, got approved for the loan. Finally happening. Raising hands. It was the first time I'd ever told them about my business. About anything, really. The replies trickled in. Uncle Ron. Loan for what? Aunt Marie. So proud of you, sweetie. God's timing is perfect. Dad, about time. You always were a slow bloomer. Mom, heart emoji. Classic. Then came Tessa. The girl who I once picked up from LAX at 2 a.m. without complaint. The one whose Netflix, Amazon, and Spotify still had my name on the billing info. She replied. Tessa. Congrats. Don't forget who you owe nail polish. 4 words. And suddenly, I didn't feel proud anymore. I felt used. I stared at the screen. For a long, long time. And for the first time in my life, I didn't let it slide. I didn't respond to Tessa's text right away. Instead, I stared at that smug little winky face like it owed me money. Which, ironically, it kind of did. Don't forget who you owe, she'd said. And the longer I looked at it, the more something twisted in me. Not anger exactly. Not sadness. More like clarity. She really thought I owed her. After all these years of quiet generosity, of being the safety net no one asked if I could afford, she thought I was in her debt? So I closed the chat, opened a blank spreadsheet, and typed, Expenses, Tessa. 2015, present. It started as a joke. A petty impulse to vent. But as I scrolled through my banking app, my emails, my old messages, what started as 1 line turned into 10. Then 30. Then 100. And suddenly, it wasn't a joke anymore. May 2015. Uber from Pasadena to DTLA for her birthday party. She was too tipsy to drive. $43. 22. October 2015. Emergency transfer for car repairs $300. Later found out it was for a music festival. March 2016. Phone bill paid. Just this once. $94.77. Every single month. After that, I became Verizon's most reluctant silent partner. The deeper I went, the worse it got. Spotify Family Plan. I was the only one paying, but somehow 3 of her friends were on it. Amazon Prime. Guess whose account was used to send Mom flowers on Mother's Day? From Tessa? DoorDash on my birthday. She forgot her wallet. Twice. Same birthday. And then there was the incident, aka January 2019, when she moved into that artsy loft with no furniture and said, I'll totally pay you back after I launch my Etsy. I bought her a $280 mattress. It's probably still in her apartment, supporting the full weight of her entitlement. Line by line, the total kept growing. And with every item, I remembered the phone calls. The guilt trips. The way she'd say, You're being weird. Anytime I even hinted at a boundary. I was weird for not enjoying being her unpaid backup plan. Weird for suggesting maybe, just maybe, being an adult meant handling your own bills. Weird for expecting anything back. So I kept adding. I pulled up old Venmo screenshots, PayPal logs, even text threads where I'd said, I got it. And she'd replied with, You're the best. Sparkling heart, sparkling heart, sparkling heart. Which, in hindsight, should have come with a 1099 tax form because I was basically funding her influencer lifestyle. When I hit $11,927.63, I stopped. Not because I ran out of examples. Because my laptop battery died. And it felt symbolic. The next morning, I opened a new Word doc. 4 pages. Header. Per your request, what I owe. I laid it out clearly. Professionally. Itemized by date. Description. Amount. Notes. No repayment received, said she'd get me next week, was for emergency dog acupuncture, not joking. By the end, I was laughing. Not because it was funny, but because for the first time in my life, I was keeping score. And guess what? I was winning. I didn't press send just yet. No, this needed to be savored. I left it sitting there. Open. Glowing on my screen. 4 pages of closure. Later that night, I scrolled through the family group again. Tessa had posted a picture of herself at brunch. The caption? Self-made and sunny. Sun sparkles #blessed #girlbossenergy. Self-made. I nearly dropped my coffee. Self. Made. On my dimes. On my Spotify. On my frickin' air mattress. I took a screenshot of her caption. Attached it to the final page of the invoice as Exhibit A. And then I hit send. No message. No explanation. No emojis. Just the file. The group chat went silent. Tessa read it within 43 seconds, I counted. Then she left the group. I didn't expect her to reply. But oh, she did. For the first few hours after sending that invoice, my phone sat there, dead silent. It was poetic, really. No pings. No LOL reactions. No passive-aggressive K. Just pure, undisturbed peace. Honestly, I'd expected a firestorm. Maybe some yelling. At least a, "What is this?" But nothing. And for the first time in my life, I realized something. They weren't used to me having boundaries. Because they never imagined I'd keep them. I went about my day like normal. Coffee. Emails. Stared at the invoice again for fun. It was, objectively, a masterpiece. I had bolded section headers and everything. Then, around 7 p.m., it started. First was a message from Mom. Mom. Mason. Was that really necessary? No. Hi. No. Congrats on the loan. Just, was that necessary? I didn't reply. Because yes. It was. Then came Dad. Dad. Your sister's very upset. You need to apologize. Apologize. For itemizing the truth? This man once grounded me for not rewinding VHS tapes. But Tessa skipping out on thousands in favors? Apparently that's a bonding moment. Again I said nothing. Then, like clockwork, the flying monkeys arrived. And Marie. This isn't like you, sweetheart. Uncle Ron. You've always been such a generous kid. Don't ruin that. Random cousin I haven't seen since 2013. LMAO, this is wild, but F, are you good, bro? Even my own brother chimed in. Evan. Petty much? Coming from the guy who once took my phone charger and claimed it. Spiritually matched his vibe. Okay. The more they piled on, the more surreal it felt. It wasn't just the gaslighting, it was the revisionist history. Suddenly, I was the villain for daring to point out that maybe, just maybe, a decade of unpaid tabs deserved acknowledgement. But through all of that? Tessa said nothing. Until 10:42 p.m. Tessa. Wow. I never thought you'd humiliate me like that. I was just joking. You've changed. Oh, sweetheart. You have no idea how much I've changed. Because old me? Old me would have backed down. Apologized. Maybe even deleted the invoice and sent her a Starbucks gift card to smooth things over. But this version? This version had a spreadsheet. And a spine. So I replied with exactly 2 words. Mason. Itemized humor. She didn't reply. But 3 minutes later, I got a PayPal notification. $50 from Tessa. The subject line? Partial repayment. Since 2015, face with tears of joy. Was it sarcastic? 100%. Was it progress? Also 100%. Over the next few days, the group chat mutated into a weird hybrid of silent judgment and awkward avoidance. Dad started replying only with forwarded memes. Mom sent a gif of a cat and never followed up. Evan stopped reacting to anything I posted. And Tessa? She ghosted the chat completely. But she did something even more interesting. She started posting cryptic Instagram stories. Watch who you help, some people keep receipts instead of gratitude. Black background. White font. Super deep. Followed by Healing Dizzy is messy. With a photo of her at a juice bar, sipping sadness. And my personal favorite. Not everyone clapping is cheering for you. Ma'am. No one's clapping. We're just reading the invoice. Despite the drama, I was calm. No rage. No need for revenge. Just calm. Because I wasn't trying to start a war. I was trying to end one. For the first time, I felt free. Like I'd finally stopped bleeding for a family that only noticed when I refused to be a bandage anymore. But of course, the story didn't end there. Because while I had finally learned to draw a line, Tessa? She wasn't done crossing them. 2 weeks passed. The family group chat stayed awkwardly frozen, like everyone was waiting for someone else to break the ice, but no one wanted frostbite. Meanwhile, I was thriving. My business loan funds had landed. Warehouse lease signed. I was hiring 2 part-timers and shopping for a label printer like it was a sports car. And for once, I wasn't covering anyone else's rent while doing it. But just as I started to think things might actually be settling, Tessa struck again. It started with a text from an old high school friend, Danny. Danny. Yo. You helping Tessa with her new biz? What? Me. New biz? Danny. Wellness coaching or something? She posted this big thing about how she's launching her own shipping company now, using family support to make it real. I blinked, refreshed Instagram, and there it was. A video of Tessa, twirling in front of a storage unit with 1 folding table and 2 boxes stacked unevenly behind her. Caption: So excited to share my next chapter, grateful for the incredible family who helped me get here. Sparkling heart, couldn't have done it without you. #girlboss, #manifesting millions. Attached was a link to a Shopify site with, wait for it, the same tagline I used on my site. Word for word. I kid you not. I stared at the screen for so long I forgot to blink. She didn't just ignore the invoice. She absorbed it, digested it, and turned it into a marketing campaign. And the cherry on top? When I refreshed again, her bio now read: Shipping Queen Sparkles, fueled by family love and loyalty. Family love? Sis, that love had a 4-page invoice and a PayPal request attached to it. I wanted to confront her. I really did. But instead, I screenshotted the whole mess and added it to the Exhibit B folder on my desktop. Because I was done arguing. I was documenting. But then came the part that snapped the last wire holding up my patience. Tessa posted an Instagram story of my warehouse. My warehouse. From the outside. Zoomed in on the sign like a proud parent at a school play. Manifesting this kind of growth for all my small biz girlies. Remember who you do it for. 2 hearts, #gratitude. The comments were full of, so proud of you. Girl, you've come so far. Loudly crying face. Family goals. And then, my mom commented, you deserve all of this. We're behind you 100%. I swear my eye twitched. I wasn't behind her. I was in the building. Working. While she was outside, playing influencer. And we? Who was we? Because the only thing my parents had ever been behind was my back when it came to praising Tessa. At this point, I had 2 choices. Blow up the family chat again. Go back to work and pretend I didn't just witness the digital equivalent of identity theft with Sparkles. I chose option 3. Petty with a spreadsheet. That night, I updated the invoice. Added a 5th page. Usage of likeness, brand association, and intellectual property. Item: claiming partial ownership of Mason's business via public misrepresentation. Rate: you can't afford it. Subtotal: face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Then I send it. Directly to Tessa. Not the group. Not PayPal. Just her. Subject line: finalized invoice plus bonus branding fees. No message in the body. Just the updated PDF. I didn't expect a thank you. But I did expect chaos. What I didn't expect was a phone call. It rang twice. Just 2 little buzzes. And suddenly, I was holding my phone like it had grown fangs. Tessa. Calling. I hadn't spoken to her on the phone in almost a year. Most of our communication consisted of vague emoji reactions, sarcastic gifs, or her tagging me in memes I didn't find funny. So when I saw her name light up my screen after sending that final invoice, I didn't answer right away. I stared at it. Sipped my coffee. Let it go to voicemail. I needed a second. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to answer from a place of calm, not chaos. She called again 30 seconds later. All right then. I picked up. Me. You've reached Mason's small business hotline. How may I invoice you today? Silence. Just breathing. And then, a sniffle. I blinked. Was she crying? Tessa. I didn't mean for it to go this far. That line? That's the classic opener in every sibling apology that's not actually an apology. Me. Define this far. Is it the invoice, the stolen branding, or the part where you took a selfie outside my warehouse and pretended it was yours? Long pause. Tessa. I was just. I don't know. Trying to feel like I mattered. Like I wasn't falling behind. Okay. That. I didn't expect. She sounded tired. Not performative Tessa tired. But real, voice cracking, no filter tired. Everyone always tells me I'm the star, the one with potential. But I haven't had a steady job in years, Mason. I've been surviving on vibes, brunches, and blind hope. She laughed, not the cute influencer giggle, but the oh god life is eating me alive kind. I stayed quiet. Not because I wasn't moved, but because I'd waited years for this kind of honesty, and now that it was here, I didn't know what to do with it. Tessa, I know I owe you. I know I've been selfish. I didn't think you'd ever call me out. You always let it slide. I guess I thought you'd keep doing it. Me. I thought so too. Until I realized I was funding your glow-up while eating frozen burritos. We both laughed. A little. Then she said something that hit harder than I expected. Tessa, when you sent the invoice, I was humiliated. But also relieved. Because at least you finally saw me. Not the curated version. Just me. That's when it clicked. She wasn't crying because I exposed her. She was crying because for the first time in our entire adult lives, I stopped enabling her performance. And it forced her to drop the act. We talked for almost 40 minutes. No yelling. No guilt trips. Just two tired siblings, finally telling the truth. She admitted she used my support to maintain an illusion. That the stories, the posts, the girl boss branding, none of it ever felt real. But pretending was easier than admitting failure. I told her how it felt to be invisible unless my debit card was involved. How exhausting it was to be praised for being the reliable one, when really I was just never allowed to fall apart. For a moment, we were just human. Not Instagram filters. Not family roles. Just two people trying to make sense of years of imbalance. Then she asked the question. Tessa. What now? And I gave her the most honest answer I had. Me. That's up to you. But don't expect another invoice. Next time you need something, try paying it forward, not backward. She didn't argue. Didn't cry again. Just said, okay. After the call, I sat there for a while. Phone face down. Invoice closed. And for the first time in years, I felt like something had ended, and something else had finally begun. But peace is tricky in my family. Because just when I thought the drama had peaked, someone else from the group chat resurfaced. Someone who hadn't said a word since the beginning. Mom. It started with a voicemail. Because of course it did. My mom has this thing where she refuses to text when she's mad. She wants to hear her own disappointment echo through the airwaves like a Catholic guilt podcast. Mason, I just listened to what Tessa told me. I'm shocked. I really thought I raised you better than this. An invoice? Really? To your own sister? Yes, the classic. Express more outrage at the invoice than the years of one-sided support it itemized. Then came the follow-up text. Mom, we are family. Family doesn't send bills. Family helps without expecting anything in return. Now let's pause for a second. Because if that sentence had a face, I'd invoice it for emotional labor. Wasn't I family when I helped Tessa avoid eviction in 2018? Wasn't I family when I funded Mom's birthday dinner, the one where she toasted to the real backbone of this family, while literally raising her glass to Tessa? And wasn't I still family when I stayed silent while being called just the quiet one? Every Thanksgiving? Apparently, I was only family when I was funding everyone else's version of success. But the moment I asked for accountability? Suddenly, I'd betrayed the sacred blood code. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I scrolled back in the group chat. All the way to 2020. The height of lockdown. When my hours got cut, and I texted asking if anyone had spare groceries, just to get through the week. No one responded. No one. Tessa posted a story that day, a TikTok dance. Mom liked it. Meanwhile, I made pasta out of expired canned soup and stale breadcrumbs. So no, I didn't feel bad about the invoice. I felt validated. And when I finally replied to Mom, I kept it short. Me. If family helps without expecting anything, you might want to check my spreadsheet again. You'll notice who's done all the helping. She didn't respond. But a few hours later, I saw it. On Facebook. Of course. A post from Mom with a sunset stock image and a caption. Sometimes the ones you raise forget the values you gave them. But God sees everything. 36 likes. 10. Stay strong, Queen. Comments. 1 Bible verse. Not a single word to me directly. I'd like to say I shrugged it off. Took the high road. But I'm not a monk. So I commented. Just 3 words. God saw the invoice. Then I logged off. By this point, I figured I'd officially cemented my role as the black sheep, or, as I preferred to call it, the fiscally aware goat of the family. But what surprised me most wasn't the anger. It was who messaged me next. Uncle Stu. Now, if you don't remember him, that's okay. He's the kind of uncle who only shows up at funerals and BBQs, then disappears for 5 years. But apparently he'd been watching. His message? Uncle Stu. You free to talk? I've got something I think you should hear. That's it. No emojis. No judgment. Just an invitation. I didn't know what to expect. But something in my gut said this one's different. And I was right. Because what Uncle Stu told me next? Changed everything I thought I knew, not just about Tessa, but about the family money I was never supposed to know existed. Uncle Stu wasn't exactly what you'd call a family favorite. He was the quiet one. The weird one. The guy who wore cargo shorts to Christmas, and once brought a vegan lasagna that no one touched. But here's the thing about quiet relatives. They remember everything. So when he texted me out of nowhere, "You free to talk?" Something told me this wasn't about small talk. We met the next day at a tiny diner off Route 6. The kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tastes like burned ambition. He slid into the seat across from me, nodded once, and didn't waste a second. "Stu, you ever heard of the Reeves Family Discretionary Fund?" I blinked. Me. Sounds like a trust fund that takes itself too seriously. He chuckled. It's been around since your great-granddad passed. Started as a small trust to support education and business ventures for descendants. You know. Something to give the kids a leg up. Interesting. When Grandma passed, it was split 3 ways, your mom, Uncle Jeff, and me. We were supposed to use it only to help our kids if they had a plan. Okay. Still tracking. Your mom? She tapped into it 4 times for Tessa. I froze. Me. For what? Private high school tuition. Her entrepreneurial retreat in Bali. A used Prius. And the first 6 months' rent for that loft she still can't afford. The loan payments were supposed to come from her. But guess who's been quietly covering the interest? He raised his hand. Casual. Like he just said he made the potato salad. I sat back, stunned. Me. Wait. So there was money this whole time? For stuff like school and business? Yup. Me. And no one told me. He shrugged. Your mom said you were independent. That you didn't need handouts. Said you'd figure it out on your own. And to be fair, you did. That last line burned. Because yeah, I did figure it out. But not before years of cheap rent, missed meals, side gigs, skipped vacations, and making Dollar Tree feel like Target. All while my sister got Bali, a Prius, and girl boss, energy, On family money I didn't even know existed. I always thought it was messed up, Stu added. But I stayed out of it. I thought maybe you knew. But after that invoice thing? I realized you had no clue. I didn't say anything for a while. Just stirred my coffee until the spoon clinked like a tiny funeral bell for my last shred of chill. Why are you telling me this now? He looked down. His fingers tapped the chipped mug in a slow rhythm. Because you finally stopped playing the role they wrote for you. And because you're the only one who's ever paid me back. Remember that $200 for your tires back in 16? I did. I paid him back in cash. Took me 3 weeks. That told me something, he said. You've got receipts and integrity. So I figured you deserved the truth. And just like that I realized. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. There was a system in place. One I was quietly kept out of while being applauded for. Doing it all on my own. Back home, I pulled up my spreadsheet. Scrolled through every line. Every dollar. Every sarcastic comment I'd turned into fuel. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. I wasn't going to demand anything from them. Not access. Not payback. Not apologies. I had something they'd never see coming. Because that business loan? It wasn't just my shot. It was the foundation for the first business in the family with no secrets, no strings, and no favors owed. And when it launched, I was going to host a ribbon-cutting event. And invite everyone. Even Tessa. Even Mom. But not to honor them. To show them what real support looks like, when it's earned, not stolen. I sent the invites 2 weeks in advance. Simple. Black text on white background. No frills. No gold script. Just, you're invited to the grand opening of M. Reeves Logistics, built from the ground up. Literally. And below that, no handouts. Just hard work. And a few receipts. Petty? Sure. But after a decade of silence and sacrifice, I felt I'd earned the right to narrate my own beginning. The ribbon cutting was scheduled for Saturday. Sunny skies. Fold-out chairs. My new warehouse gleaming like a fresh second chance. My team stood ready in branded shirts. Even Uncle Stu came, in his classic cargo shorts and a grin like he knew something nobody else did. The guests arrived slowly. A few friends. Some former co-workers. Then, the family. Tessa showed up first. Big sunglasses. Big energy. A gift bag dangling from her arm like an apology that couldn't look me in the eye. Congrats, she said quietly. I nodded. Thanks. You'll like the speech. She blinked. There's a speech? Oh, honey. There's always a speech. Mom arrived 10 minutes later, dressed like she was attending a garden party thrown by God himself. She smiled like none of the last month happened. This is impressive, she said, like she was granting me a medal. I just gestured to the seats. We're starting soon. Make yourself comfortable. The speech wasn't long. I kept it tight. Started with how the company was built. How I worked multiple jobs. Skipped vacations. Saved every dime. Built credit slowly. Made mistakes. Paid for them. Learned. Then I paused. And I want to thank those who supported me, even if they didn't know they were doing it. Light chuckles. I pulled out a folder. Because every favor, every grocery run, every borrowed dollar, even if it wasn't repaid in words, showed me exactly what kind of business I wanted to build. I opened the folder. Held up the 4-page invoice. This was my ledger. My silent motivator. My unofficial business partner. Dead silence. Tessa stared straight ahead. Mom crossed her arms. I used to think helping family meant being quiet. Taking care of things. Not keeping score. But here's the truth. People who love you don't mind paying you back. They don't forget who helped them. And they sure as hell don't pretend they built your warehouse while standing outside of it with a ring light. A few gasps. A couple stifled laughs. So here's to clean ledgers, open books, and never being guilt-tripped for remembering your own worth. Then I cut the ribbon. They left quickly after that. Mom didn't say goodbye. Tessa lingered for a second, maybe to say something, maybe to save face, but in the end, she just walked to her Prius and drove off in silence. And honestly, that was enough. Later that night, I emailed one last version of the invoice. No total. No payment link. Just a final line, bolded at the bottom. Paid in full, by personal growth, boundaries, and a warehouse I own outright. Then I archived the folder. And closed the tab. For good.